Hey, we're back with Old School Eats. I'm Derek Old School Fournier, and I have gotten bitten by the thought of bacon. I've wanted to do bacon at home for years and been afraid of it. It's a lot more science than I'm used to in the kitchen. I got some dear friends up in the Carolinas, Deliricious, and Ricky does fantastic homemade bacon. I happen to have some pork belly, if you'll notice from my previous pork belly brisket style video that was released. I've got this other piece of pork belly, and I went out and I went on a scavenger hunt to find bacon instructional videos on YouTube, and it's an incredible resource. So we're gonna make bacon today here in Old School Eats, and we'll be back with the instructions. So when it comes to bacon, the first step you have to do is to actually cure it. And there's a bunch of ways to do this. There's dry cures and wet cures. I went out and went to one of my favorite YouTubers, Bradley Robinson, Chud's Barbecue. Big shout out to Bradley, because every time I watch one of his videos, I learn something a little bit different. And his instructional methods are so smooth. It's great. So big shout out to him. This is really his recipe. So I've got over here on this really high-tech printout his ratios. Now his recommendation is to make your sort of dry cure in a batch. So you can go back and make bacon whenever you want to, or bacon burnt ends. And I think it's brilliant because then the math is easier. You're not doing, 2 to 3% across multiple spices. So what he does is he makes this big batch, and then he applies that batch percentage to his pork belly, which is what we're gonna do today. I actually cut his recipe in half because I don't have quite the need for bacon that he may have. So what I've got over here is, I've got all of the ingredients. I've got kosher salt, and I'll put this down in the description. Bradley starts with 400 grams. I'm not gonna give all of his measurements, but mine are gonna be half. I've got 200 grams of kosher salt, 100 grams of white sugar. I've got 30 grams rather of pink curing salt. This is #1 curing salt, not pink Himalayan salt. For more info on that, go check out the other YouTubers. They do a great job on it, but this is actually what helps do the curing process and allows you to keep your bacon for longer. There are ways to do it without that, but I'm choosing to go this direction. And then I actually used Bradley's spice mix, exactly the same. I've got 8 grams of garlic. I've got 8 grams of black pepper. I've got 3 grams of sage. Fun story on that in a second. And I've got 3 grams of crushed red pepper flakes. If you've ever used sage, I don't use sage that often. This stuff is very light, so getting 3 grams took a lot of sage. So it was a little bit deceptive. Now I'm gonna combine these all in the deli, mix it thoroughly, and then apply to the pork belly. Okay, a quick look behind the scenes. If you see over here, we've now combined all of those seasonings into this deli container. The reason I didn't do that on video is because I was deathly afraid, after speaking to my son and cameraman Nick, that it wouldn't fit in the deli container. And this is the largest deli container that I actually had. So rather than look like a complete jackass on the video, we put them together in the container off air, and it did actually work. So it works pretty well. It looks like a archaeological dig right now, but we're gonna mix that up, get it well combined, and then we'll apply it to our pork belly and get it into the back bag. The nice thing about this is that it is an easy way to combine seasonings. And like Bradley says in his video, you can keep this, it's shelf stable, and I will be going back and using this to make the pork belly or bacon burnt ends that he does in another video, and it's an awesome video. He gives a shout out to the originator of it on the video. I can't remember them. So we're gonna go ahead and measure out 59.1 grams. Oh, that makes sense. So for bacon, as I understand it, and I am not an authority, but from what I've seen from the videos, including Bradley's and Hey Grill Hey and a number of other actual bacon people that focus on charcuterie and other curing sciences, for bacon, you want between 2 and 3% of the weight of the pork belly. So this pork belly, I weighed it on my kitchen scale, which you need to use. You need to use grams. You need to be relatively specific about this because there is some science. Weighed 1,970 grams, which meant that we needed at 3%, 59.1 grams of this. We will then apply it to the pork belly and get it into a vacuum sealed bag. All right, so I measured out my 59.1 grams of cure, and I'm gonna apply it to the whole pork belly. Now I did notice, because I use a food saver like a lot of you do, that the bags are not quite wide enough for this piece. I may have been able to shove it in there, but I don't think so with the depth. So I'm actually gonna apply my cure, cut this in half, and then put it in the bags. That way I'll have 2 slabs of bacon. I had quite a bit of lamentation with my son and my wife about how precise the measurements would be, but I think we're going to be fine based on how I've watched Bradley Robinson sort of bang his board and get the stuff in there. So this is pretty simple. We really want to just get this all over the belly. I'm doing this on a cookie sheet to try and keep everything in there. Doing the meat side first. Want to get that all over. And as I understand it, I don't want to speak as if I'm an expert here, because I am certainly not. This is my first time making bacon, but the concept is not dissimilar from what we do with other salt-based rubs or brines. We want this salt to get in there, pull the moisture out of the meat, and then pull the salts back in. What we've added is this pink curing salt, which has, I believe, nitrates or nitrites. I can't even remember. Can't keep straight the science jargon. Which will allow this to be more stable over longer periods of time, as opposed to just using salt. Now, I know a lot of people have, again, a blood feud with nitrates and nitrites and added nitrates and nitrites. I don't. And for this, I can tell you this amount of bacon is not going to last long in this house anyway. I probably could have gotten away with not doing it at all, but I did not want to. Definitely want to get the sides, but I don't care about the sides as much, according to Bradley, because otherwise that first piece is going to be really, really salty. I'll probably cut that off. But all I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this and put it onto the cutting board below here, cut it up and put it in these bags and seal it up. When I was cutting this, I noticed something, and I didn't go back and show this on the sliced pork belly brisket style. Your pork belly is sort of, follow your heart. This was from Naked Farmer. It's great, high quality pork. You see the meat on the side, looks great. But this back corner on that other piece also is very, very fatty. So this is going to be mostly fat. I don't know any way to eliminate that risk. This side, however, you see that meat profile? It's fantastic. So it seems like it's just the luck of the draw. I know the pork is really, really good from Naked Farmer, but every once in a while you're going to get a big chunk of fat like that. Fat's not bad. Fat is flavor, as Sam the cooking guy says. So we'll see how that comes up. I'm going to bag these up and put them in there, and that's it. All right, so I've got my pork belly vac sealed with my Food Saver bag. Like I mentioned, I split these into 2 and was incredibly scientific with the way I made sure that the extra brine that was in the cookie sheet went in, and then made fun of myself because I was so anal about it. At any rate, the next step for this is these go into the refrigerator for 7 days. Every day, flip it over. As that moisture gets pulled out of the belly, it's going to get redistributed in the bags. And after 7 days, we'll come back, pull these guys out, and we have a couple of other things we have to do. We have to rinse them off, get some of that extra salt off the edge, and then get to smoking them before we can actually make what we call bacon. All right, here we are 7 days after putting these into cure in the fridge. The next step is to rinse them off and then get them on a rack, put them in the fridge to develop what's called a pellicle. I'm going to let that happen a little bit during the day. I'm not going to let it go overnight because I want to actually smoke these today because I'm going to be out of town tomorrow. But I will get you some video of us putting these on the smoker, and then we will actually fry some bacon tonight. Can definitely see the color difference since the cure. It's not as rigid as I thought it would be, based on the videos that I saw. So they had said it would really tighten up. I've rinsed it off now. I'm going to flip this over so it's fat side up and put it in the fridge. But the color is vibrant, and I'm going to say after about 5 or 6 hours in the fridge chilling, we will get this on the smoker.
Smoking the bacon wasn't that interesting, so I don't have a lot of video for that. But here are both of the slabs, both the walnut and the pepper crusted before they went into the smoker. And I put them on my Bark 2400 at about 180 degrees until we got to an internal temperature between 150 and 160 degrees, which happened relatively quickly, a couple of hours.
Okay, we're back with our bacon. I've got the 2 pieces here. This was done with a pecan rub on the top, and this was done with pepper. They have, to recap the process, they cured for 7 days. They sat in the refrigerator for another day to develop a pellicle, the better part of a day. And then I smoked them on the Bark 2400 pellet grill at 160 degrees to an internal temperature about 150. And then I wrap them in this wrap per Chud's barbecue recommendation. He says to do it at least for a day, which makes sense. I was actually traveling for work, so I had to do it for a little bit longer than that. But now we're gonna take our first cuts of bacon. Now I've never cut homemade bacon. So I've got my normal boning knife or fillet knife that I use for pretty much everything. I've never found anything it can't cut. But I got this cool 10-inch butcher knife that I use to break down prime rib that I'm gonna try and cut this with. So we'll see what we can do here. Kind of got a weird edge down this side. Try to square it off a little bit. They tell you to try not to saw the bacon, which makes sense. Well, that's our first piece right there. And again, this is the pecan rub. Got a little bit thick on that guy. Slicing pretty easily though. It's pretty looking bacon. I'm not going to slice all of it, but I want to have some samples. Put that over there with this guy. Oops. And yes, I know there'll be some sort of crossover of flavors because I'm not going to clean the knife in between slicing this bacon. Some of you may be anal enough to do that. I am not. This is what everyone online seems to think was their best call, which was the peppered bacon, which is essentially taking the bacon after it had been cured, hitting it with some coarse black pepper on the top. We've all seen that done before. We probably all had commercial versions of it. And it is, in fact, delicious. And I'll tell you what, it smells awesome. Get you guys a good look at that. This was the better of the two pieces of pork belly with regards to fat. So let's see here. Yeah, you can tell already with the amount of meat on that piece of belly, that's going to be phenomenal. Well, can't tell if the flavor is going to be phenomenal, but... And yes, I do realize, if you're watching, I'm doing exactly what they say not to do in sawing, but this knife is very sharp and it's got a nice angle to it. So it's not chewing up the bacon. I think they're coming out pretty good. Cut one more slice here. You guys, a good look. That actually looks, to me, fantastic. See how that kind of piece kind of fell off the bottom there. So we got pepper bacon, we've got pecan rub bacon, and the next test is to cook it. Okay, we're over at the cooktop. I actually have an induction cooktop. I don't talk much about it. It works, but I wish we had gas. Got the pan nice and hot. I've got my bacon over here. I will turn on the ventilation fan, otherwise fire alarms will go off. I hope the audio is not too obnoxious. We'll find out directly. There goes a piece of the pecan. Oh, still stuck together down there. Stop screwing around here. So you can see I've got 2 of the pecan rub in there. I got 2 of my peppered bacon. Now normally I would cook bacon probably in the oven. It's my favorite. But I figure for the demonstration this makes more sense. Just gonna fry these up and see how they taste. I'm not sure where you all fit in the bacon continuum of doneness. I am not a crispy bacon person unless it's going on a sandwich, because then you need bite through. But with these being thicker cuts, I'm going to take these probably to, if crispy, not burnt, because burnt bacon in my opinion is a waste of time. But crispy bacon, for real though, crispy bacon is 5, and floppy as hell bacon is 1. I'm going to take these to probably a 3.5 or 4. As you can see, because of the amount of fat that was in this, there's a lot of fat rendering off here. It's another reason why I think this would be particularly good cooking these in the oven versus in a pan. But again, the smell is fantastic. For those of you wondering, this cooktop is on a 7, which is what I call medium-high right now. I had one thin piece up here. It's already getting sort of to the doneness that I would go for. The rest are about equal, and I'm going to take them a little bit further. Well, we've got our sample bacon all cooked up. As you can see in the inset, I pulled the thin one off a little bit earlier because it was super thin. I'll give that one a try. Give you a look at it right here. Okay, so homemade bacon is pretty baller. That was thin, so I don't feel terrible eating the whole piece. Can taste the pecan rub, but not too much. I'm not sure that I get a lot of the aromatics that we put in the brine or the cure, but I probably should have done a piece without any of that. As you see here, this is another one of the pecans, the thicker pieces, which is more traditional, more standard for what that's cut at. And these are the pepper bacon. So I'm gonna try one of the pepper bacons next. They look almost a little bit too cooked, but I wanted to make sure I got that fat rendered out. Let's try it. It's delicious. I would probably cook it a little bit less, but that's easy enough to adjust. But it's weird to say bacon is tender, but because you're able to control the thickness of the slice, really, really good. Fun experiment. Thank you guys for checking it out. It's something I'm going to do again because we really do like pork belly in this house. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you like, subscribe, do all that cool stuff. Thanks for everyone who's been watching these videos. I started this with just my sons, and if I had 10 people watching, it would have been cool. We've had a bunch of other people watching, some really cool comments. Big shout out to Wilson's Barbecue who commented, and I felt like a fanboy. So we're going to keep doing videos, and if you have feedback, let me know. Comments, love to share these recipes and experiences, etc., including the silly stuff that I posted about how I'm an idiot with regards to the temperature of meat. There's a video on, and what it does to your cook temperature. And then fireboard and appropriate AC adapters. I don't mind telling you how dumb I am at times because I think all of us do it. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. See you next time.